as we discussed in a previous video, humans think 6,200 thoughts, more or less, in a day. Most of the thoughts are directionless, without purpose. They're not conscious. That is why at the end of the day we cannot recollect even perhaps 50 or 100 thoughts, because they're not conscious thoughts. Now, since thinking, our thoughts are so powerful, they're valuable, what a waste that is, isn't it? Because they're just fleeting thoughts, they are directionless, they're without purpose, and they don't really amount to anything. So ideally, we should be thinking more conscious thoughts. So how do we do this? How do we start doing this? I will share my personal thoughts and my experience on this, and hopefully this is helpful in some way for you. Okay, so how to start thinking? You start thinking by first understanding what thoughts are. This helped me, and then just simply start thinking. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, when we get through each day from morning till bedtime, we are experiencing the world around us. We are observing the world around us. We hear things, we read things, right? So we're actually gathering a lot of information, and we don't do any thinking about this information usually. Well, at least for the greater part. We do consciously think about some of this information that we glean, okay, through observation, through auditory means, and through tactile sensation experiences, etc. Right? So how can we start thinking about all of this? And what is the benefit of doing it? As you know earlier, there are a lot of benefits. As you know from the earlier video, there are a lot of benefits to thinking. Okay, as we have discussed, you will be able to be a more confident person. You will be your own person. You will be able to set goals for yourself. Your life will be more directed. You will have more confidence, and people will value your thoughts and your ideas that you express verbally or in written form. So, and you would also have other results, like in areas of career advancement and finance, and the way you look, the way you speak, everything. Okay, so there are many benefits to thinking. So how can you start thinking? By simply thinking. Okay, what do you think about? But before we get to that, let's talk about how do you know that you're not thinking enough. Okay, you know you're not thinking enough if you are often just living somebody else's ideals, meaning you're just following a path set for you by others. And if you are trying to fit in with a group of people, that's called groupthink, right? So if you just doing everything that other people do, and you're easily influenced, and if you resort to stereotyping, like assigning group characteristics to people according to their race or gender or ethnicity or religion or other forms of group identities. If you often feel insecure, you feel like somebody might take away what's yours, all this is actually a result of not thinking correctly. Okay, So we've talked about benefits of thinking. We've talked about how do you know that you're not thinking. You're probably not thinking if you fit the bill with regard to all this characteristics that I just listed. And now we come to thinking. So how can we start thinking? Start thinking consciously and start thinking more, meaning move away from those fleeting, directionless thoughts that we can't even recollect at the end of the day. So to begin with, now be very conscious about the way you interact with the world around you, right? What you observe, what you hear, even in meaningless activities. Start becoming more consciously aware of what is it that you are looking at. Don't just look without seeing. Don't just hear without listening. And become more consciously aware, more engaged, and start thinking about these things that you're observing about the world around you, and also what's going on inside you. Now again, I'm using the word think to explain think. That's not a very good thing to do. So what is think actually? When I say think, what happens is there is you talking to yourself. There is language involved. There is communication involved. Words are used. Okay? So you talk to yourself about everything that's going on around you, and you also talk to yourself about everything that's going on inside you, meaning you perceive whatever you see, whatever you hear or listen, whatever you feel through tactile sensation, whatever you can smell, the whole lot. Okay, so all the 5 of it, right? So what you observe around you, you consciously process it, meaning you reflect and you reason. And how do you do this? You reflect and reason using words. Okay, so you talking to yourself, that is thinking. So that's where you start. You talking about the world around you, talking about your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, right, your words, all of that. You think about those two, and when you think, you're actually reflecting and reasoning about the going-ons around you and inside you using words. This is the start of thinking. Okay, so now the thoughts that is going on, the 62,000, that's the 6,200 that goes on inside you. I won't say it's just your head, even though the bulk of the activity, whenever there is mental processes, the bulk of the activity is actually detected in the brain. Recent research shows that there is also activity in other organs. So we'll get there in another discussion. But having said that, you become more conscious, meaning out of the 6,200 thoughts that's going on that you can't even recollect at the end of the day, you try to make more of it, perhaps 50 or 100. Yeah, you try to make it more. You try to make yourself more consciously aware of these thoughts, and when you do this, you will also be able to reason as to whether or not this thoughts that you had is ideal or is it flawed. Then we go to the second level of thinking. So today we just talk about the first level of thinking. So start doing this today. And how is all of these going to make a difference in the 8 key results areas of your life, or in the 8 pillars of life? I will stick to 8 pillars of life as a term of reference from now onwards. Yeah. So how does all this make a difference to the 8 results areas in your lives. As you keep doing this, then you can actually juxtapose what is going on in your mind. Yeah, you can take that and then you can actually assess it as to whether these thoughts, these conscious thoughts now that you have, are actually augmenting, strengthening your path towards fulfilling those goals. Let me give you an example, and as always I will use physical health as an example. Okay, so when you start thinking about everything that you experience in a day, so you become consciously aware. For example, the food that you see all around. What do certain smells of food do to your hunger pangs, and how do you act? Okay, first you reflect, you reason, and then you arrive at your choices in terms of action. So how do you act? So do you immediately, unthinkingly reach out for that food and eat it? Or are you subjecting your reflection and reasoning with regard to your experience smelling the food, yeah, and what goes on inside your body? Upon reflecting and reasoning, do you consciously make a decision? No, I am going to summon my self-discipline and stay away from this food because this is simply not in line with me achieving my goal. Yeah, so this is how you start thinking, by being more observant, more perceiving rather. Okay, observant is just one sense, right, using one modality of your sensory organ, but okay, perceiving is a better word. How you respond to what you perceive around you. All right, so this is how you start thinking. Start thinking about the little things that you do from the time you wake up until the time you go to sleep. You'll be surprised. Some people who are like super intellectual, really intelligent people, impressive in terms of their critical thinking and confidence, make flawed decisions as a result of flawed thinking. I actually watched a video on YouTube recently of a very famous movie star who's still an actress on in the silver screen, and she made a statement that she cannot lose weight because that's the way her body is. And it was so surprising for me. How can someone that I really respect as a very good actress, right? So her ability to act actually, in my opinion, comes about as a result of her astute intelligence, yeah, her clear communication skills, how she can grasp a character and portray it on screen. Yes, she's obviously a very confident and intelligent person, but she arrived at such flawed thinking when all that is her struggle with her weight. What it is actually her inability to think correctly to about her about how she responds to what she perceives in the world around her, about not managing her eating habits and her exercise habits, not setting it as a goal and being able to muster the discipline to do whatever it takes to achieve the goal. Yeah, so start thinking, start activating your first person voice, which is the first level of thinking, and then we can move on to the second person voice with which we think, which is a higher level of thinking, and we will discuss further about this. I hope this video was useful. If you like what you saw, yeah, stay tuned for more content like this. We'll talk about all 8 pillars of life and what it takes for us to achieve ideal results in all these 8 areas.